Let me let these people in. And then we're good to go, Mr. Chairman.
Are we all set then?
Yes.
Okay, I want to open up this meeting. It's about 2 minutes past 6. It is March 9th, 2022. We had an executive session at 5, and we now return back to session at 6 o'clock. This is a hybrid meeting, which means it's Zoom as well as in person. The selectmen are in person. Selectman Hull's present. Dr. Z is present, and Ken Pacheco is present. If you're watching on cable and you want to participate via Zoom, the meeting ID number is 829-3290-9034. I'll repeat that again. Meeting ID number is 829-3290-9034, and the passcode is 900778. Passcode again is 900778. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and please remain standing.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm asking for a moment of silence for State Trooper Tamar Bucci, who was tragically killed while attempting to assist a motorist on the side of the road. She was laid to rest today. And I'm also asking for a moment of silence for the Ukrainian people who are heroically fighting against the Russian aggression in their country. I ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. The first scheduled appointment is with our town clerk, Mark Pacheco.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening. Just here to announce the annual town election ballot. So the annual town election is April 9th, 7 to 5 at the Dayton Elementary School. And the candidates are, for the Board of Assessors, Carol Beauregard of 472 Estabrook Ave in Dayton. She's currently appointed to the position. William F. Moore of 1835 Smith Street, Dayton, Mass. Town Clerk for 3 years, Mark Pacheco, 2530 Maple Swamp Road of North Dayton. Public Library Trustee for 3 years, Ann E. Meitzen, 3091 Hunters Hill Drive of Dayton, Mass. For the DR School Committee, for a 3-year term, Peter Latour of 193 4th Street in Dayton. Moderator for 1 year, Gary Scott Dingus of 1780 Smith Street. He's the incumbent. Also for moderator for 1 year, William F. Moore of 1835 Smith Street in Dayton. Planning Board for a 5-year term, Joseph Figueredo, 400 Country Hill Drive of North Dayton, and he's incumbent. Town Treasurer of 3 years, Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street of Dayton. Also for Town Collector for 3 years, Paul Reynolds, 725 Main Street. All right. Sewer Commissioner for a 3-year term, Paul Jolly, 707 Brook Street, and he's incumbent. Parks and Recreation for a 3-year term is Kerry Fontaine, 488 Spring Street of North Dayton, and Rachel Goulart, 227 Summer Street, North Dayton. Board of Selectmen, Brett Zagrafos, 411 Tremont Street, incumbent, and also Peter Karen, 2580 Maple Swamp Road of North Dayton.
Thank you.
That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you. The next agenda item is the Bristol County Agricultural High School solar farm building fee request. Is someone here from?
Yes, we have Derek Costa, the school business manager, and we also have the building commissioner here with us as well, Mr. Chairman. Just really to kick this off, at the end of January, the town was invited to a presentation at the Aggie And the Aggie is part, like in addition to their school building project, they're, so, like in addition to the school building project, they're considering a solar rooftop project on a number of the buildings, of the new buildings at the school. So the solar project, as I understand it, is like a fairly limited return on investment, but the school believes it's important to set the example. So like in sustainable, like in renewable energy. So based on that, the building commissioner does have like a permit structure, which in the meeting and in a subsequent meeting he laid out to the agricultural high school, but based on the projected return on investment, there's frankly a little bit of a conflict between the return on investment, and the projected building permit fees. So in their meeting on February 8th of this year, the Bristol County Commissioners, they took a vote, as being shown on the screen, and is in the packet, and they've asked the Board of Selectmen to waive the building permit fee structure, for this specific project because of the value. So the total value, in the non-monetary value as well, that it will have for the Aggie and what it does in the example that it really works daily to set for students and in the region. So again, we do have Business Manager Costa and Mr. Aguirre here to speak to it.
So my understanding is that the fees an estimate of the fees, permit fees, would be about $35,000.
That is correct.
And I believe Bristol Aggie is asking that those fees be waived. We're probably going to compromise on that. But we also want to be realistic as to what, the benefit of solar energy. So I would ask the board if they have any questions before I entertain a motion.
I'm sorry, what is the,
Well, they're asking, Bristol Aggie is asking that we waive the permit fees to put the solar on the building. And secondly, we estimate it to be about $35,000.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Aguirre and myself, as the representative to the trustees, met with Superintendent Sands. Bristol Aggie, the town of Dayton, have developed a wonderful working relationship. Their school is a masterpiece. It is something, that new project is something that we all can be proud of, and it is one of the better schools in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. That not only helps them, it helps us. When we discuss this project, the profit margin of the solar farm is very, very small. In essence, the $35,000, if we were to go with that fee, would really, they would have no profit from it. In our discussions with Mr. Aguirre, a fee of $5,000 would cover costs to the Board of Health. I'm sorry, to the building department for that, for the inspections, partly because the electrical inspector is paid per diem. He is not on a salary basis. I'll let Mr. Aguirre talk about his feelings about his fees. But in talking with Mrs. Sands, who isn't present this evening, when I mentioned the number of 5,000, they were very happy with that number. One other thing, and I hope I'm not going to get in trouble with Mr. Higgins, the Dayton Development and Industrial Commission, through the wonderful work of John Daggett and the Taunton Area Chamber of Commerce, are planning a business meeting with area businesses and businesses from area towns, which the members of the Board of Selectmen will be invited to as well. An event where we are going to be explaining processes and also trying to recruit more businesses for the town and building a closer partnership. Bristol Aggie will be hosting that event at no charge to the town of Dayton. So that's one more example of the partnership that we're developing that I'm hoping my colleagues will help to support. We did mention the number of $5,000.
So getting back to the fees, Mr. Aguirre, do you want to speak on it, or I think?
No, I'm obviously comfortable with that number. I stand by my fee structure. I think it's a responsible fee structure, but understanding the profit margin for this particular project and wanting to support the school, I can make things work with that fee structure. That would be a flat fee for both building and electrical.
Thank you. Have any questions? Dr. Z?
I guess
Or
this
comments?
is, yeah, this is for whomever can answer it. Why is the profit margin so small? Or maybe this is for Mr. Costa. And I'm gonna support it, but I was just curious.
Oh, great question, yeah. The two solar arrays that are
So actually, Derek, do you want to come up to the mic because it won't pick up? Sorry about that.
Good point.
So the two solar arrays that are being installed in the facility, one in the science and environmental science facility, the other one in the dairy barn itself. We've just received notice that we're in a block 9 of that calculations for our rate structure now. And when we look at amortizing the agreement with the potential vendor that we'll be working with, that agreement over that 20 years provides a very small amount of, on the lease agreement, a small amount of return back to us. The savings to us really is on the electrical side.
Okay.
And so when we're trying to reduce our electrical expenses, I mean, at this point in time, our rates are 0.18 to 0.21. We're reducing in block 9 to possibly at a 0.11. And that's a huge reduction for us. So that's really where our savings are.
Okay.
And except on the equipment itself.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
I did want to mention also too, if I may, Superintendent Sands would like to have been here tonight. She had asked me to represent the school and the school building committee, and we very much appreciated the discussions that had happened with Selectman Hull and with Building Commissioner Aguiar. They're very favorable to ourselves. We understand there's a fee structure, and we respect that for that responsibility. And we thank the town for whatever decision that they do make to it. And we hope that this is an example of the work that we're going to do at the school itself on sustainable energy and also environmental work that we would like to continue to do. It's an example, and we could like to model this with our students who are participating in any of our programs in the environmental science division of our school. So we thank you for that very much so.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
You can have the honor.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that we set the Bristol County Agricultural High School solar project building fee to $5,000.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Yes, I would just like to, if you could pass this along to Superintendent Sands. Just like we worked on the right to farm bylaw together, I think that this project is in line with the town of Dayton being a green community, so I'm proud to support this tonight, and I thank you.
Thank you. I'll call for a vote.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm not asking for.
discussion?
This is not public input at this time. This is discussion for the board.
I have information related to this.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to have public input on every item that we have on the agenda. So the board has asked questions, we've discussed it among ourselves, and now I'm calling for a vote.
Okay, I just want the public to
Selectman
know
Hull.
there's additional money
Please,
involved.
Please. I'll let you speak. Public input is right after this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please
Selectman Hull, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes. Mrs. Goulart, if you wish to speak on public input, I should have had you just wait there. I'm sorry, Mrs. Goulart.
I got a couple of Aggie topics, so I'll just finish up with this one. I'm not involved with the building fees or any of that. However, we are talking about a pilot agreement, and the Board of Assessors has briefly discussed this, and we're working on details with the proponents, the company. So if there's a pilot agreement, there will be additional income to the town of Dayton. This doesn't affect any of the permitting. In addition to that, if there is a pilot agreement, there is a $5,000 administrative fee in all of our pilot agreements that handles the kind of things that we do internally and ends up with recording fees at the registry. So
So
none of that's affected
that
by the vote you
administrative-
took.
Okay, that administrative fee is paid by Bristol Aggie or by the
No,
solar farm?
there is another fee, okay? What you just acted on is strictly the building.
Yep.
Mr. Aguiar's department and inspections. So I just wanted everyone to know, if a pilot agreement is in place, there will be additional revenue coming to the town of Dayton, using the same boilerplate that we use. The $5,000 clause is in there. And so, once the Board of Assessors has more information and we can come up with a schedule, we'll give you a progress report before everything gets finalized, so you'll have an idea how many years we're talking, how much money we're talking. We're ironing out some details that the proponents have to get info back to us on.
Can I ask?
So this won't be ready for the annual town meeting?
Oh, no, no, no,
Maybe
no.
November. Not that, you have a question for Mrs. Goulart?
If that's okay?
Yes.
I don't have any of our boilerplates in front of us that you've worked on, so I apologize. The $5,000 fee, is that built into the structure of the payments in lieu of taxes, or
No.
it's completely separate?
It's paid at once the agreement is voted at town meeting and this board signs it, and it's signed by the other party, the payment is due. We get that payment before we record, and it goes into estimated receipts, and it closes out to free cash. Where obviously the pilot money is tax money, and the Department of Revenue has different rules for that. So I didn't want anyone to be confused if I started talking about a $5,000 fee, thinking it's what Mr. Aguiar and what you just voted. It's not, it's separate and distinct, okay?
Thank you.
So something else I want to mention at the Aggie School. Yesterday morning, Mr. Aguiar, Mr. Pilling, Mr. Ferry and I met with Mrs. Sands and Mr. Costa and Mr. Miranda, the facilities manager. We have a question about the new drainage system on the North Campus. And up to this point, the Highway Department has taken care of cleaning catch basins at all of the schools, including Aggie. The new system is going to require different equipment that we don't own. Therefore, they're going to take care of cleaning both campuses with the equipment that they will lease or whatever. For this year, they'll be part of our MS4. What we've got to determine, and I'm going to follow up with the EPA, now that they have, let's say, double their campus size, will they be recognized as a separate reporting agency? Going forward, they would file their own MS4. They're under our rules, bylaw, and regs for stormwater. But we need to get this ironed out. We're all set for the year that ends June 30th, and we've taken care of that. So that's just something we're working on. The other thing we talked about was the possibility through the curriculum, the use of drones to do some of the inspections we need to have done for stormwater, such as outfalls. They're not done by students in boats anymore. But certainly, we could have outfalls inspected with drones. Let me say, it's complicated, it's FFA and everything else, but Mrs. Sands said they are interested in pursuing it, similar, more complicated, but similar to some of the other projects Aggie students have done for us, like the appraisal for the sidewalk. So I just want to thank Aggie. I would just follow up on what has been said. Going back to 2007 with the Berkeley-Dighton Bridge and the easements we needed, We've had excellent cooperation from Aggie. We've had donations of easements that were tied up for 7.5 years. So certainly, what's being proposed, I think the vote tonight was very appropriate as far as our mutual concerns and benefit. The only other thing I would mention, Monday night we finished up with Taunton Concom, Dora Estates. To the best of our knowledge, we're all set. We were thanked by the chairman for being, for the professional presentation, for the meetings, for the politeness of everything that was conducted, and they thanked Dayton heartily for everything that we did relative to that, so. Phew.
Thank you.
Selectman Hull.
I might add, I did receive some feedback from the chairman of the ZBA in Taunton, and he also a member of the planning board. They were very, very happy with the professionalism of Mr. Pilling and Mrs. Goulart in resolving that issue, which I believe has been resolved.
Thank you.
Welcome.
I thank them on behalf of Dayton, and I said, I'm sure we'll be back, because we're all gonna talk about Forest Hills. Everybody smiled.
Is there any public input? Mr. Moore, come to the mic. Identify yourself.
Hello, William Moore, 1835 Smith Street. I had a much larger set of notes here, and I'm going to try to keep it brief because I got to get home to my wife, who's hungry, and she gets quite cranky when I don't feed her. This past Saturday, we had a historic vote on the Bristol Plymouth school project. And I'm here to ask this board for three things. One, I would like an apology. Two, I would like to ask you guys to do some sort of mitigation. And three, I'm looking for a promise that this sort of thing's not going to happen in the future. Selectman Zagrafis posted on his Facebook page what I consider to be a piece of BP propaganda, and that's fine.
I would prefer that we not get into political
No,
conversation, quite
that's
frankly.
exactly what I was just going to say.
Thank you.
That I don't want. We're not going to relitigate that. But the thing is, he put it in a response to a flyer that we sent around town, calling it inaccurate to begin with, which is false, calling me a liar, I believe, saying it was negative, which it was not. It was negative in the respect that we wanted to say no, but it was not negative. Then the things that most concern me is the phrase that he used was dark money and anonymous. Well, first of all, I'm sure you are aware. Have you not seen me at this podium before discussing this subject in great detail?
Are you asking me?
I am asking you.
Well, yes, I have.
You have.
But I did see the flyer. I didn't see your name on it.
That is correct. But you are quite aware of a group of citizens within this town that were
A lot of people,
promoting
obviously, a majority of the
a
voters.
majority of the people of this town. And calling it dark money, I can say, looking around this room, I'd say about half the people in this room put in money. There was no dark money. There was nothing sinister. But yet, that's what it was called. Anonymous. We're not anonymous. I'm here. I've given
I don't want to speak for
interviews
Dr.
with.
We're not going to belabor this, but I'm not going to speak for Dr. Z. But the flyer that I saw had no name, no signature on it at all. So I don't know who sent it. You probably did contribute to it. I'm not saying you did or you didn't, but there was no name on it, or any group that it came from. Obviously, it was
So
people who were opposed to the BP plan, obviously.
We on there was what we had, the hashtag No to BP, which turned to a Facebook page, which
I'm not
we have
familiar with that
communicated
Facebook
on.
page.
I've discussed with the Taunton Gazette, identified myself. You know, yes, we were all involved. It was a group of a grassroots organization that came together to fight this project for the better of this town because we care about this town. And I simply do not like when we use phrases such as dark money and anonymous and sounding sinister. And then in addition to that, there were people that posted responses. And when Mr. Zagrafis did not like the response, he blocked them and deleted it. I don't think that's right. I think that's unethical.
I get it. We have an election coming up. This sounds like a campaign, and I don't think the public needs to hear this. You want to post anything you want on social media or whatever, that's your business.
The
But
problem
let's
is,
not
the problem is, sir, when we
It-
post
it was
something on
the-
social media,
the-
he
the-
deletes it.
The voters in Dayton voted against BP. The majority of the people that, in the district voted in favor of it. Not by much, but in favor of it. Now we have to deal with that. But that's what happened Saturday, and
Well, that, if I may move on to my second point, which
Sure.
is mitigation. I would like to ask all of you to do everything in your power that you see that 2/3 of the citizens of this town do not want this project.
no,
And would
I saw
ask-
2/3 of the voters that came,
Yes,
not 2/3. In fact, it was about 10% of the population, not the eligible voters, but the population that actually came out and voted, but it wasn't
I'm making the
2/3.
presumption that that's a statistical sampling. But certainly a large 2/3 of the voters
2/3
said
of the
no.
voters that came out were
And-
opposed to it.
And I would ask that this board do everything in your power to try to mitigate the costs of this project. We simply can't afford it, as we put out in the mailer, we simply can't afford it. And I'd like to ask you guys to do that. Lastly, I would like to ask about notice. It's come to my attention that some of the board members here have known about this project for years. We have only heard about this, myself and others, I think it was November of last year. And the original date was we were supposed to have a vote in January, a couple months. We had no time. Luckily, the mayor of Taunton bought us a little time so we could mount a defense against it. But I'd like to know, I guess my final question would be, why is it that certain members of this board have known for years and the citizens of Dayton have not?
Well, I can tell you, speaking for myself, and I won't speak for the rest of the board, I found out about it the same time you found out about it. I did not know about it prior. And what I should have done, I should have gone to some of the BP meetings, because they've been meeting apparently for 3 years on this, and I was just caught up on it. You're saying November, it was probably November when I heard it, and we brought it in. Fortunately, we were able to have a town administrator sent a letter to ask for a delay in the election, and it was postponed to March, which gave us a little bit more time, obviously. But I can honestly tell you, I found out about it probably when you found out about it, so.
Well, I honestly believe that if we had more time, and we could have reached more people, because some of if you saw the turnouts in the other towns were abysmal. I mean, I think like 400 or 500 people showed up in Bridgewater or something like that.
Well, what we did in this town, if you remember, we had a public hearing. We let BP come in and explain the whole project, and we had, I think you spoke, and
Yeah,
some others, and a couple of other people spoke, either for or against it. But we did want the public to know, the residents to know what the options were. So we did all we can, the town of Dayton. I can't speak for other towns. I wouldn't tell them how to vote on on the project, but.
Well, I'm not sure what else to say, other than I think a couple months' notice on a $300 million project is not acceptable. But I don't want to argue about it, but thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you want me
Mr.
to
Mark.
stay, or?
You have
No,
a
no,
question
no.
for him?
No, I just,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
in response to the issue of when this town knew about the Bristol Plymouth project, when I first heard about what I'm going to disclose, I was shocked and somewhat heartbroken. Because in September of 2019, they had their first meeting with town officials. 2 selectmen attended, town administrator attended, and the head of FinCom attended. That was in September of 2019. In 2020, they had 2 meetings. One in September with one member of the Board of Selectmen, not a current member, attended, and town administrator. And in January of 2020, the town administrator attended. In January of 2021, Bristol Plymouth reached out to the town of Dayton, and no one attended from the town of Dayton. The town administrator, nor members of the Board of Selectmen.
Just want to make it clear that it's not our current town administrator.
Correct. It wasn't. I'm trying not to name names. I'm not trying to make this a big political or personal issue. But I will say this. This town didn't do due diligence on this project. They weren't transparent, and it put us in a very difficult situation because the public wasn't informed. And it has, in some sense, split the town. And what my biggest fear was, and why I contributed money, which I don't consider dark money, and why I spoke out against the project, is that those same people who voted no on that project are going to come back when we have a debt exclusion and vote no on a debt exclusion. And then we are going to have a mess, because now we're going to have to look at cutting programs, because the money's got to come from somewhere. Thank you.
Is there any other public input?
Mr. Chairman,
Mrs. Goulart?
I'm a selectman, or one of the selectmen that's being referenced. And I don't know how early I was involved, but I had been invited to meetings at BP. They were breakfast meetings. And at that time, the project was replace the roof, remove the facade that contains asbestos, and make other renovations and possible additions. That was the same information at the next meeting. And by the way, every time I went to one of those meetings, I came back to the Board of Selectmen and said, I attended a meeting at BP, this is what's happening. I can tell you at one of those meetings, there was a representative or representatives from the Department of Ed and from the section, the building, it used to be School Building Assistance Bureau. And they talked numbers. At the time, the number was above 50%. When COVID came, and also when we hired a town administrator, I know I didn't get invited to meetings again, so I assume they were covered. When COVID came, I had talked to the superintendent at a couple of times, emails basically, and said, are we going to have any more meetings? And he said, yes. I was never invited to those again. But I can tell you, this Board of Selectmen was represented. I was one of the selectmen, and whenever I went to a meeting, I came back and said, this is what's happening. I did not know it was a brand-new building until that meeting was held, and I'm sitting at home saying, what are they talking about? This isn't what had been the proposal. My personal opinion was, and I voted no simply because, number one, the cost. Number two, I think it's insulting, the percentage they offered. I think that building, even as expensive as it was, to not get at least 50% is insulting. We are not the affluent suburban communities of Boston. This part of the state is just not boomtown. I look at projects in Attleboro, a new Durfee High School, the new Diamond, okay? And I'm thinking, I'm looking at Aggie. That one was a little over 50%. And so I'm looking at this saying, what happened with this one? But I just want you to know, folks, when they were having meetings and when I knew about them, I did attend and I did report. So for the selectmen that were on the board with me at the time, there were reports. What ended up is not what was presented when I did attend the meetings. So there was no hiding of anything. I reported exactly what happened. So I was as surprised as all of you when that project was finally announced, and it was like, wow. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody on Zoom? Public input? Tom Balkin? Tom, unmute yourself.
He's got to unmute.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, a belated happy birthday.
Thank you.
Am I correct?
Yes, correct.
I think I saw it on social media. It'd be all right to just give a little short, I'll be brief, I will be brief, I promise. A little ditty on the CPC. We've had some changes in what happened with the park project. We're bringing it back. Some folks got together, renegotiated, they're gonna resubmit a plan for that playground. And we're gonna bring it before our body. It's on St. Patrick's Day evening at 6. I don't have to mention who worked it out, but they had some folks work together and come to a solution that we're gonna revote it, bring it back, and try to get it on the warrant right away instead of dragging it out for another year. So everybody came together, and I think that's good because I was supporting it the whole time, and I was public about it, even though I didn't have the votes, but I stuck to my guns, but it turns out it's gonna come out positive. And then the town clerk's project is gonna move forward. It's in combination with the historical. It's a really good project. We got a lot of support on it. It's to preserve records. And I'm not trying to steal anybody's thunder. I promise I won't do that again. I accidentally did it to the town administrator, and I didn't even, because I didn't read his notice about, I don't know if you remember at the department head, I kind of spoke out of turn. Anyhow,
forget.
all right. I know, it's in the past, but basically I'm working on better procedures. Okay, the other thing is the historical commission has brought another piece forward because they didn't get funding from the state. They missed they came in on the list. So we're gonna move that forward because it's just another piece of their project. And it's in the works, it's been in the works, it's 25,000
Tom,
that the state.
Tom, I thought you voted on that already, no?
No, I talked to her today, the vote will be coming up, it was, I think she had it mixed up, so she just sent me another, copy of the invoice. I know you guys met, but it wasn't voted on, it was voted to take under advisement.
Okay.
We did not vote on it that night. That was the night, the biggest thing that was going on was that playground that got kind of, I gotta get a gavel and I gotta get Atwood's book on how to run a meeting, because I tell you, gotta get a gavel. So anyhow, that's on my list, and that's all I got. I'm still hanging in there. I'm not gonna quit.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm gonna keep, that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. Anybody else on Zoom that wishes to speak, public input? Tom, you can mute yourself now. Anybody else here? Thank you, Tom. Okay, announcements. I'll do the first one. Annual town election notice, it was mentioned earlier. The annual town election will be held at Dayton Elementary School on Saturday, April 9, 2022, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And Dr. Z, would you read the rest of the announcements, please?
Give me 1 second, sorry.
Yep.
There is a townwide parking ban in effect through April 1st, 2022. No person shall allow their vehicle to be parked on the street so as to obstruct snow removal. A reminder that open burning season is from January 15th through May 1st between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. A $10 permit from Dayton Fire Rescue is required prior to any open burning. And again, I believe you can get your burning permit online as well at DaytonFire.com. Yep. And don't hold me to it if you can't. The Dayton Lions Club Food Bank distribution will be held next at 8 a.m. on Saturday, March 19th, 2022 at Town Hall, lower level, 979 Somerset Avenue. Drive safe, Mr. Moore. Have a wonderful evening. Annual town election notice. The annual town election will be held at Dayton Elementary School on Saturday, April 9th, 2022 from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I just mentioned that. Town administrators report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If it's okay if I come up there, just
Sure,
so I
absolutely,
can...
yep. Just don't hit the
Absolutely
card.
not.
Just watch
Yeah,
the
do
card.
not.
I know, I almost... so I'm just, so like in closing your packets, I presented a budget message that had an overview about what our fiscal position is, like what we've been doing to prepare for it, and how we're recommending really going forward in the coming months. And I just want to pull it up. So I actually synthesized it down into a PowerPoint this afternoon, just so it wasn't as overwhelming as it might. I have come off the letter. But where we are now in the FY23 budget timeline, So as we've updated before, like we officially started our budget process, the town accountant and I together with the board and department heads and boards and committees as well. So in January, right at the beginning of the year, the last month, we spent, the town accountant and I working, meeting with departments, boards and committees, like reviewing their budget recommendations, like, and also, I forgot to mention as well as when we came before you in January, we spent a lot of time really going through our revenues. So what our available revenues would be to fund the budget expenditures that would be proposed in the ensuing months. So like we provided an update, I think mid to late January, and at the time Alice said we would go back to the drawing board to continue our analyses, and everything we did in the month of February, that would bring us forward to where we are tonight. Whereas the board will begin its budget review process based on the departmental requests, and also hopefully a little bit informed by the recommendations that I've made in consultation with the town accountant and also our department heads in the last 4 to 5 weeks as well. So that will take us through the next month, and then after that, after the board makes its recommendations, those recommendations will go forward to the FinCom. And I know in talking with the FinCom chair, they are aware. So the FinCom is aware of everything in our financial operating position going forward and what we're projecting as well. So like I believe in talking with Chairman Roach, so they're going to be beginning their process a little earlier than they have been this year, just so we can all be on the same page, and so like we can all really try to get in front of the issues we're facing together. But
Are they starting before the board finishes?
so.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you either. So right now the FinCom, so tentatively they want to dive in as well as I imagine the board will, as well into the education assessments. So they've asked, the FinCom has already asked to meet with DR on the 24th of this month. So they really want to dive into that.
Cool.
So, but everything else I expect to follow the so the traditional pattern. And then that takes us to the annual town meeting, which is now scheduled for June 6th, which is a Monday night, the first part of June. So that brings us really here tonight, and really what our budget. So like our proposed budget recommendations and where we start and where the board. So like and where the board begins, in understanding and analyzing. So our budget operating position. And as I mentioned, and as we mentioned, beginning at the end of the last calendar year and in January, really that, so that analysis in our operating position really depends on our revenues. And we have worked and we've taken a deep dive into our revenue situation. So like, and frankly, so like all of our efforts to plan for FY23, so as I mentioned, have been centered upon conservative needs-based budgeting. So like we have various fiscal challenges that we're going to be facing in FY23, FY24, so like and beyond into FY25, and we know that at this point, and we want to continue planning for that. So in the major tenet, of our budget proposal and recommendations this year. It also involves, along those lines, adapting to scaled back local receipt revenues based on current economic and revenue trends. And so like as you go through the budget, you will see those trends. So just as 3 major examples, like we scaled back our new growth projection by $167,000 from FY22 based on input from the town assessor. Over the last few weeks, so on a very related note, because they largely go hand in hand, we also have drawn back from $308,000 to, I think, $240,000. So we've drawn back, so our projection on building licensing permit revenues as well. So based on the trends that we're seeing now, in FY22, so looking again, all that is correlating to the new growth projection as well. Also, as we talked about in January, our budget recommendations and how we're proposing to fund our budget at this point, it does rely on a reduced reliance on the ambulance fund by $290,000 compared to where we are at this year. So this allows us, and this would allow us to continue adhering to the ambulance replacement schedule, while also ensuring a healthy retained revenue balance in that account as well, which is also important. Going over into the budget expenses, you'll see as we go through the initial budget proposals that we're projecting so FY23 expenditures are initially proposed to increase by $1 million over FY22 levels. And those are really driven by cost increases that we're seeing now and that we have seen in the past that have been always largely outside of the town's control. So you'll see in our education budget, we're seeing initially proposed increases in our education budget of right now of $677,000, and I just have to indicate that is based. So relating to the proposed DR assessment. So that is only based on the initial request only.
Okay.
So it's early. So it's early still in the budget process. So and they're going through and continuing through their budget process as well. And of that $677,000 increase, 619% relates to the initial proposed increase by DR. So, but that also currently has no E&D applied to that. So assessment increase, and we do expect that the school will have E&D. So when we expect to be able to apply E&D to that. But again, so I just want to provide appropriate context around that number. So that's really understood. But at this point on March 9th, that's the number we have. So that is the number we're kicking off our budget process with.
When is the school committee voting on that?
So they're having a budget hearing on March 22nd. So yeah, they're having a budget hearing on their budget. I believe last night they had a school committee meeting as well. So I want to say, so they're actively working through the process as well. So in next week, as part of our education budget review, we do expect representatives from DR to be here as well to talk about where they are, so in their trajectory. So as I mentioned, they do have a process as well, and they're working through that process. And
Yep.
Do you have, I forget based on past years, and
Yep.
I think some years it's been different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an idea of when they might reach out to me? Just so I have an idea of how far along we may be in our process as a board.
So the school department will be here next week.
Okay.
So and I do expect an update from them then.
Yep.
So based on where they are, but as I mentioned, they do and are planning on having their budget hearing on March 22nd. So I expect, and I don't want to assume because it is a crazy year for everybody, but usually by the time you have a budget hearing, you're in a better place in understanding. Okay. So and you might be closer to where they might be thinking they could end up.
Okay.
So those are. So as I mentioned, of the current initial education increase of $677,000, about actually 619 $100,000 of that relates to the DR assessment, and that is a fluid process. The other $57,000, those $20,000 of that is our assessment increase at BP, and the remainder of that, I want to say around $38,000 is is the assessment. So is the tuition assessment and the capital assessment increase based on the enrollment that went up at the Aggie this year. Like we increased our enrollment based on the October 1st. So the October 1st enrollment report, the Dayton enrollment increased there by 5 students. So I'm sorry, 4 students. So like we are seeing those increases as well. So additionally, so the trash and refuse market is in a really challenging state right now. So and we're in the last year, FY22, is the last year of our existing contract with Borges. So so we're going through a process with them. So we expect an increase, but also at the CMAS and Covanta facility in Rochester, like where we send our trash and our trash goes. So the acceptance and the tipping fees are also increasing astronomically as well. So all told, with all of our sanitation and collection and disposal efforts, right now we're anticipating $100,000 in those, in those costs as well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Dr. Z.
Thank you for being patient. I guess my question is, I don't want us to be in a situation, and Selectman Goulart and former Selectman Goulart, and Selectman Pacheco will remember where we've had to do year-end transfers specifically for trash disposal, So I just want to ask,
Yep.
Are we sure that this estimate is going to accurately anticipate the increased cost so that we don't have to do that again at the end of this year? And I
So-
don't think we had to do it last year either, if I'm correct.
So,
Yeah.
so we seem to be, I believe, in a pretty good spot in FY22. So I do want to preference the $100,000 increase is so I don't want to say a placeholder, but a really educated number. But we are waiting on some information from our current vendor. But also, as we know, and unfortunately, so our current vendor, based on the global fuel market right now, they've just had to enforce in the last few days a provision in in our contract with them that is a fuel surcharge.
Okay.
So a lot of these things are evolving on a very fluid basis on a day by day. So we're actively paying attention and involved in that.
What a time to pick that fuel surcharge. Okay, I'll
Yeah.
let it go.
So also we belong to the Southeastern Regional Health Insurance Group. And this year they have approved a 1% increase in health insurance premiums for employees, which 1% is modest, but so I know of other health groups right now that are at 3%. But even a 1% increase, represents almost $100,000 in additional cost for us. So that is there. And then as you'll see, as we go throughout the budget, we're also proposing one-time retirement separation and costs for various long-time town employees. So those are included in the budget as well.
And are the one-time increase in employee health insurance costs due to increased premiums? Is it due to we've had more claims, so?
No, we have so we have retirement separation costs.
Okay.
So for unused sick and vacation time, those type of things.
I mean the increase in employee health insurance costs.
No, that's just really a market-driven analysis based on the experience rate like for the entire Southeastern Regional Health Group.
Are the premiums for benefit insurance premiums for employees going up at all this?
Yes, so they'll go up, so our portion will go up by 1%, and the employee portion will go up 1%. And we have the 75-25 split
Thank you.
on that.
Select-
sorry.
Selectman Hull.
Oh, no. Go ahead, finish your thought.
You sure?
Sure?
Okay. Should I continue on in my slides, or do you want to ask a question on that?
Oh, no, I can wait till the
Okay.
end.
So as we plan forward for FY23, and as I mentioned, because what we do and how we plan for FY23 also informs 24 and 25 and beyond. So we really do have a priority to ensure so we really do, as we always have a priority to ensure our fiscal sustainability. And so as we mentioned, over the past few months, we have seen trends with revenues, and we've worked to immediately adapt to them. And so in our projections going forward for next year, so like we don't want to like have any holes or have or have any revenue projections where we fail to realize those projections. So we're working to adapt now, and our efforts in this budget, essentially they're a reset. And what, we're resetting to is really closer to the fiscal position of the town in FY19. So this is a very tight budget year, like what we're doing now. To stabilize it. So like it's not new. We were in this position like in FY19 as well, based on the numbers we have gone through. But we've really been placing a priority, the town accountant and I, and even members of our financial team, to really prioritize forecast-driven budget planning, so we can project out and can operate accordingly based on that as well. And as you know, so we're currently working with the Department of Revenue and going through a financial management review. And they're very much focused on our forecasting. So on our forecasting efforts and our further need to forecast. So we do anticipate additional recommendations being made by them. But again, where we are now going into FY23 and 24 and beyond, we really have to continue to look creatively, at opportunities to generate revenue and realize, and try to do our best to realize efficiencies when possible. And I believe that's it. But I just, oh my God. This is it, because I've spoken enough. But included in my budget recommendations, as you'll see as we go through the budget process beginning tonight, and continuing into next week and the following week. As I mentioned, we did have department requests, in the recommendations. So in the recommendations that I have made before you, that you'll be considering as well, actually almost $43,000 less than have been proposed in total departmental budgets. So in some of the aspects that I am recommending, is funding for transition planning, in the treasurer collector's office, especially including for the FY22 closeout. That's really important, because that impacts how we go forward, and we want to make sure we go forward in a very strong way there. Included in this budget process, you'll see proposed adjustment in wages for the town clerk, in the animal control officer, the latter of which currently makes less than the minimum. She currently makes less than the minimum wage for the hours that she works. So this budget also relies on $3,000 in savings in the town administrator's budget, for not funding a vacation buyback provision. as I think I might have mentioned, we have gone back and add, so I can add what we hope will be, and what we hope will be practical fuel increases. So especially for the police, highway, and fire. So their fuel and gas lines, like especially as we go forward in this global craziness, so they have the fuel budgets that they need to do what they do. As I mentioned, we also so this budget also proposed increases to our our waste and recycling based efforts, and also so with regards to the Council on Aging in prime time, the budget also proposes funding for the Council on Aging to expand programming for Dayton seniors along with maintaining a component of the adult supportive day programming as part of our broader COA efforts as well. So I know a lot of things we'll get through as we go through the departmental budgets, but again, I just wanted to give a more global overview of how I'm recommending we move forward. But again, I have only been here a year, so and you and everyone else has been here a whole lot longer than I do. So again, these are just recommendations. They're a starting point, but they rely on input and feedback from the board, from the FinCom, from the residents of the town. So at the so at the end of the day, all these things, have the support, and have the input from everybody. So, if there's any general questions,
Well, no, a couple comments. One, I would like to thank Mr. Mullen, recognizing the fact that budget discussions are going to be very difficult. Funding the programs could be very difficult. You have withdrawn $3,000 vacation buyback, which directly impacts you. Thank you for doing that. Savings to the town. I might add it, your cost, your expense. Thank you. I think in my involvement with the Board of Selectmen and the early budget discussions, the school committee and their budget discussions, Mr. Baxter, the new business agent, is someone that you're going to like working with. He's developed a good relationship with Mr. Mullen. I know in our discussions and public input, in the early discussions with the school committee, based on the public input, they cut $500,000 from their proposed budget. You're going to see Dr. Azar and Mr. Baxter working very closely with us. I feel confident of that. So, thank you.
Dr. Z?
I know that the superintendent that they selected doesn't start until June. Will they be aware of the budget process? Will they watch what's going on? Or do they just start anew in July 1st or whatever the date is?
Well, I was on the selection committee, and I've had some discussions with Mr. Rooney. He's a hard worker. And will he be observing the budget process? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. However, and I did ask the superintendent, and I did ask the current school committee if Mr. Rooney would be a part directly involved in the budget process, and I was told no. Will he be aware? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Something that I mentioned privately and I'll mention publicly the Board of Selectmen in the town of Rehoboth would love to meet with us in a joint meeting with Mr. Rooney. So as we go forward, we can see if we can agree on a date and a location, and they would like to meet with him, partly to get to know him, but also to hear, Mr. Rooney can hear our concerns, and also give both boards a vision of where he plans to go with the district. So it's encouraging, very encouraging.
Thank you.
Thank you, Town Administrator.
Thank you.
For your report.
Thank you, gentlemen. Okay. I will
Selectmen's
sit down.
report. Dr. Z, I think you're on the Selectmen's report.
Oh my God, I have to check what I'm.
5-year plan update for
Ah.
the fire station.
Okay, yes. I did meet with Chief McGee. I didn't include the fire department in my last report simply because I hadn't spoke with Chief McGee at that time. He will be requesting monies for a feasibility study to see what what the best, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Commissioner, but what the best options are, how much they cost, meaning rehabbing, repairing the current fire station one, looking at how expensive it would be to possibly construct a new one. So all those options, we'll call them, will be explored. So that will be on the annual town meeting warrant. And I believe he will also be, and I don't want to, as Mr. Berkwin said, steal your thunder.
I don't have any thunder.
Lightning, whatever it is. But he will also be requesting, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say maybe the first year payment on a new ambulance. And he's on a 5-year replacement schedule.
Yes.
So this would be ambulance number 2, I believe he said.
Yeah, he would rotate, yes. He would rotate the ambulance that is currently at Station 1 to Station 2, and he would retire from service the ambulance based on its age and service. He would retire the one at Station 2. And again, and the balance that, and how the town accountant and I have, together with the fire chief as well, like looked at, really administering the ambulance fund and proposing our recommendations going forward is based on that as well.
Thank you. That was it.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
There is no old business.
No.
Go to new business. Review, discuss, and act on an open warrant for the annual town meeting. Entertain a motion to open up the warrant for the annual town meeting.
So moved.
Second?
Second. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. What was the date for the closing of the warrants? I don't remember.
I believe it's April 11th.
Yeah, it's either
Yes.
the 11th or the 13th. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, in my old, so in my last binder,
April 11th.
yeah,
Yes.
I'm almost positive it's April 11th, but all those notes, I just switched binders, so I can't go back.
Thank you. The next agenda item is, we received a letter from our executive assistant, Karen Brady. Board of Selectmen, I respectfully request that the Board of Selectmen rescind the vote taken on December 29, 2021 to renew the wine and malt package store liquor license in the name of Gadarani, Inc., license number 00020-PK-0284. During the renewal process, it came to my attention that the business had changed ownership and the license was not currently being used for the sale of alcohol. The current license was advised of the issue, and it was agreed that the current licensee was advised of the issue, and it was agreed that the license would be considered surrendered for the purposes of the renewal, and they could apply again in the future if necessary. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that the Board of sorry, I was just thinking of the right language. The Board of Selectmen rescind the vote that we took on December 29th, 2021 to renew the wine and malt package store liquor license for Gadarani, Inc., license number 00020-PK-0284.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also an aye. It passes. A review, discuss, and act on Serpent contract. I believe we're not ready for this, and we're going to ask that this be continued to
A future meeting.
a future meeting.
Yes.
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to table the Serpent contract and economic development plan. Do we have a date to just future meeting?
A future meeting right now, I've been in touch, and Chairman Higgins and I have been working on that, so.
Hey, nice to see you.
Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also an aye. I'm sure the next item Mr. Phillips has anxiously been waiting for. This is from Kerry Easterday, dated February 24, 2022, member appointment recommendation. Please be advised, on February 23, 2022, the Zoning Board of Appeals voted unanimously to recommend the appointment of David Phillips of 1261 Main Street, Dayton, as a member of the Dayton Zoning Board of Appeals. I was on the board for 17 years. You were on, I think,
About 7 months.
7 months. So you're going to have a good experience, and you're going to learn about the bylaws in town, so.
Woohoo!
You should be. It was a good board.
It was fun, actually.
Selectman?
Make a
Hull?
motion.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint David Phillips to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So moved.
Is there any discussion?
Thank you.
If
For
not,
stepping
I'll
up.
call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Good luck. You're going to have fun with that.
Don't
Just-
blame us if you don't.
Yes. Keep your head down, though, if you talk about being put on a committee for a 40B, because there's a lot of meetings. I know I mentioned to your wife that the board that she's on, that she will have a lot of meetings. I was joking, but you're going to have a lot of meetings. But it's interesting, and it's, you have an opportunity to assist people in town, different variances and permits and stuff like that, so good luck with it. It's a good board to be on. The next agenda item is, this is, that's your resume.
Resignation?
Yeah, the
Yep.
resignation.
Yeah. Do we have that form already to give to him that we signed? That his appointment, Mr. Phillips' appointment, so that,
I believe it's already made out. It'll be in the clerk's office for you.
okay, so he just needs to go to the clerk's office and get sworn in. Okay, thank you. Okay, this is from Daniel LePage. Hello, Lisa. I am emailing you my resignation from the Conservation Commission due to the fact that I have moved out of Dayton and not able to travel to the meetings. I am also dealing with private situation in my life at this time. Please accept my apologies for the late notice because I am doing the best I can to resolve my situation. All my best to you and the team moving forward. Respectfully, Daniel LePage.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we accept the resignation of Daniel LePage from the Conservation Commission with thanks and appreciation for his service.
Is there
Thank
a
you. Second.
second? I know he was really interested to join. I spoke to him about it, so I'm sure he reluctantly had to resign, but any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico's an aye. So thank you, Mr. LePage, for your service to
you.
the town. Dear Board of Selectmen, we are respectfully request to dispose of the following broken pieces of equipment in our office: an HP LaserJet printer, 4200-4300 series, a time recorder, and a Dymo label writer. Additionally, we have a bag of miscellaneous electronic cards labeled as surplus. Please feel free to reach out to our office if you have any questions. And it's from Stephanie Schechter from the Assessor's Office. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to grant permission to the Board of Assessors to dispose of the following broken pieces of equipment: one HP LaserJet printer 4200/4300 series, one time recorder, one Dymo label writer, serial number 1750283-2341215. The time recorder serial number is 350011407695. And the LaserJet printer serial number is USGNS 53265. In addition, miscellaneous electrical cords also labeled as surplus.
Second.
Is there a second?
Yep.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes. The next fun agenda item is review, discuss, and act on a budget review. The first budget is number 131, Finance Committee. And you have your packets, you have it, all the budgets. It is less than level funding, so they're not asking for more money. They're asking for $295 less than what they had previously, in the past, have asked for.
Okay.
Any questions about that budget?
It's level. Yeah, it is. No,
Oh,
it's less. It's a
Less than
little
level.
less.
so I'm sorry, I
It's
think
less than level.
4,000.
$295 less.
Yeah, the fiscal year 2021, 2022 was $4,295, now it's just $4,000.
Where? Hold on this.
They're cutting the in-state travel, $45, and the dues and subscriptions of $250. Total of $295 less.
Okay.
You all set?
Yes.
I am.
You have a question?
No, I'm all
Okay.
set. Sorry.
I
Selectman
actually
Hull?
do.
Yep.
In regards to the town assessor's salary,
We're doing the FinCom.
I'm sorry,
Doing the FinCom.
I'm sorry, no question. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to, we're going to vote on each one. It's not necessarily it's our recommendation at this time, but we're going to meet with the FinCom.
Yeah, we can
In
change
the
it.
past, and we can change it, and it'll come back to us. So I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 131 as presented this evening.
Second,
Any discussion? Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. The next one is the reserve fund, and this is level funded. In fiscal year 2022, their budget was for a total of $42,000, and the current proposal is also for $42,000. Any questions about the reserve fund?
No.
If not, I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 132 as presented this evening.
Is there a
Second,
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes. The next item is the town accountant's budget. Did you wish to speak on this, or? You don't have to. Yep. So it's an increase of $3,218.83. It's an increase per employment contract. And is it, I can't read it, is it LMA certification? Is that LMA? CMA. EMA?
C,
C, okay. Gonna come up.
in the education stipend.
In the education stipend, some of the other items are reduced. Is it professional and technical reduced, or is it bookbinding? Which one is it? Reduced over $9,000. Professional? That's professional and technical. Okay. So the total increase is $3,218.83. Is there any questions? Does the board have any questions?
I don't, Mr. Chairman.
I'll ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, and sorry, I'm going to try to think of better language this time. Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 135 in the amount of $166,532.48.
I second that.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also an aye. The next agenda item is the Board of Assessors, 141, and we have a note dated January 31st. This is the 5101, the chairman of the Board of Assessors will no longer be included with the town assessors, $5,000. 5102, the two members of the Board of Assessors, $5,000 each, total $10,000. 5103, added a new line for the town assessor's salary, $81,180. 5106, assistant assessors, 2.5% increase, going to $51,815.40. That's a result of the clerical CBA. Senior clerk, 2.5% increase, $41,150.20. Additional $1,000 training as needed during certification. 5155, decrease due to removal of vacation sick time bonus. 5300, increase in technical development for classes and keeping an active MAA designation. Also includes $800 stipend. In 5302, half reevaluation fee. In 5302, also increase $5,000 to purchase near map. And
That
so-
was in the data processing budget.
So is that taken out then?
So the 155, the budget number 155, so the 155 is data processing, so we're
see,
gonna.
yes,
yeah.
I was staying with 151.
Yep. So I just wanna, on that, I just wanna mention one thing. So, we just very recently received, this communication. So the budget that was initially submitted by the assessors, it actually had like 5,400.
That was my question. Okay, thank you.
So yeah, I just actually updated it. So, so to be honest with you, I haven't. So the original budget request was for 5475.84 for the chairman, and then the 9711 for the two members. But so my understanding is that the prior chairman was also the principal assessor.
Yes.
The $5,400 reflected. So the prior principal assessor also serving as the chairman. So that salary always increased by a wage increasement every year. So what the Board of Assessors are now actually proposing, so for the three members to have a level salary, where the salary of the chairman doesn't increase by the wage adjustment every year, if that makes sense.
Well, yes, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but I just wanted to explain the genesis of that, so it's all understood.
And this whole budget is less than level funding. Selectman Hull, you want to say something?
I have a couple questions, actually. First one, I know the assessor came in mid-year,
Yes.
and we put together a salary.
Yep.
And how much of an increase is that position from last year?
From what was, it's actually less. So what was funded last year, and you don't actually see it because the lines
Right.
have been broken up. But, so in total, so I believe for the principal assessor part of that salary, there's about a $3,000 to $4,000 difference.
It was above 85,000
Okay.
last
no, thank you.
fiscal year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the second question was very controversial town vote. I don't see anywhere in here that talks about the appraisal fee. Was that $8,000 fee that was taken out of
Yes.
income? Is that a one-time fee or?
No, that's a recurring, that's a recurring cost, but
Okay.
how that cost is spread out through the fiscal year allows us to only need to fund that cost, so $4,000 per year because it overlaps.
Okay.
So that $8,000 is split up over a calendar year. So because we have the So from the reserve fund transfer, because we have the $8,000 this year, so it allows us to get, allows us to get on a schedule, so where we can propose, so $4,000 per fiscal year. So like in that $4,000, because that work is split over a calendar year. So basically what we're doing is dividing that in two. So, and we're making that upfront investment of $8,000 this year. So going forward on a fiscal year cycle, all we'll need to fund, so is the $4,000 per fiscal year, because it happens on a calendar year.
But to
What's that, please?
may I?
Yes.
But to answer Selectman Hull's question, it's, if I may.
Yes.
It's not something that is in the operating budget. It's something that goes on the special town meeting warrant, or the town meeting warrant, excuse me. And it's an article that gets voted on.
Why do we
Correct?
have to do it that way?
So that was the way, but included in
Yeah.
5302, so we're bringing that into the operational budget.
Selectman Hull?
What happened at town meeting was an embarrassment. And it could have been and should have been prevented. One of the things people need to understand, that is a requirement of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. You can't avoid that. You have to do that. And to not put it in the operating budget, you run the risk of what happened in town meeting happening again. And I hope it never happens again. That's call it mandate, call it what you will. There's no getting around it, other than down the road, we can look at doing it in-house when someone is certified to do it, as Mr. Long was many years ago. But currently, that's not the case. So it is in the budget, and I'm glad to see it is in the budget.
Mrs. Goulart, we're talking about the assessors budget. You have any comments?
The reason why that was always a special warrant article, going back to when I first been on the finance committee 20 years ago, was because it overlapped into 2 fiscal years. And at the time, the recommendation was, instead of trying to budget this way, have a special warrant article. Every year it passed, because when you get up at town meeting and say it's a mandate, we gotta do it, we don't have a choice, it passed. And I know the finance committee questioned it a number of times, why don't you split it? And the recommendation was, through past audits and everything else, the cleanest way to do that is present it to the people as, we gotta do it, it involves 2 different fiscal years, and as you know, our budget is a fiscal year. So it would be like a conflict saying, we're going to actually spread this out and do 2 budgets. The explanation back then was the simplest way to do it was through a special warrant article.
Okay.
I think there was confusion this year because when it came up, I think people thought it was another special article. This is optional, and we don't have to do this. And even though we explained, we don't have a choice one way or another. So in going back and looking at this, now that that situation arose, it was decided that, as Mr. Mullen explained, we put 4,000 into one fiscal year, we're gonna put 4,000 into the other one. We're still gonna have to pay it, we're still gonna have to do that service and everything else. But this way, now people can question the budget and say, why did you go from a special article to 2 budgets? It relates to the fiscal year, which is the budget, and the calendar year, which is what all of this entails. So, so I hope we get the 4,000
In summary.
in our budgets.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So this budget is $14,330.58, less than the previous fiscal year, so it's less than level funding. Any other questions about this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So in the updated numbers, Mr. Chairman, based
Oh my
on
God,
the
thank you.
corrections,
Okay. Okay.
was 215. I mean, it's basically, in essence, a wash. But the updated numbers are 215, 295.60.
Are you still entertaining motions?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 141 in the amount of $215,295.60.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Our town treasurer. This is account number 145.
And we had the, and I do believe our treasure collector,
She was on.
yes, she's on Zoom. I'm gonna ask Mary to unmute. So Mary, can you, oh, there you are, okay.
So are there,
Yes,
have you had an opportunity to review the budget?
Yes, sir.
Any questions?
It's lower than the previous year by almost 10%, so I'm going to support it. But I do want to know why, if that's okay. Mrs. Hathaway,
Yes.
I see here there's about, sorry, there's a delay.
Because of my salary, my certification, that's not included in that budget. It's low.
Are we including the cost to certify the next treasurer collector in this budget?
No, because they have to sit in that seat for 3 years before they can take this certification request.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Any other questions?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 145 in the amount of $117,950.80.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also an aye, it passes. The next budget item is 146, Town Collector. And this is also less than level funding. It's, you're probably going to fix the figures for me, Mr. Mullen, but it's $9,597.01, less than the previous fiscal year budget.
For the same reasons, I assume,
Yeah.
as well.
yes.
Is there any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account 146 in the amount of $104,250.80.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye, it passes. The next budget item is 155, data processing. This is an increase of $5,000 over the previous budget. And is that because we took that money out of the other budget, Mr. Mullen?
So there is a
So
difference
141,
here.
was it?
So there is a difference here between the departmental requests and my recommendations. So and it does relate to the NearMap software that has been requested by the Board of Assessors. At this point, the assessors and the principal assessor have made a request to fund it, but so this year, just in an effort to really try to prioritize what we really need, so what we really need to fund and what, so we might, so try to hold off on. So that is in the area, so at least at this point, I'm recommending we hold off on at this point. So, but that's just my recommendation. So,
Hold off on voting or hold off?
hold off on funding the $5,000 $5,000 expense for the near-map software.
So you want us to take your recommendation?
Well, I mean, I don't have any skin in the game, so to speak.
No, I know.
So,
I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend for account 155, $66,706.28.
Is there a second?
I believe Mr. Mullen had recommended a reduction of $5,000, is that
Which is what
correct?
which is
Yeah,
the figure
it's
that you just
5,000
read.
from the request.
So this number here is,
the 66,706.28 is based on my recommendation.
okay. I second that.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes.
Can I ask one question before we move on about data processing?
Sure.
I see here, so obviously in past years, going to line 5240, in FY '20, we didn't spend that, well, like, we probably spent half of what, or a little more than half of what was approved. And then, obviously, we spent more than $10,000 in FY '21. For halfway through this year, we've not even spent half. So I guess my question is there a reason why we didn't reduce 5240, or is it just we don't know what may come in the next half of the year in terms of costs for repairs and maintenance?
What I see is that we spent more than half as of January 31st, 2022.
Oh, remaining, I'm sorry. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, that budget is extremely tight right now.
Okay.
And
Well,
we're-
are we gonna have enough?
Yeah, we manage it very, very closely and tightly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next budget item is 158, tax title and foreclosure. The recommendation is to level fund it, and that's what they're asking for, $10,000.
That's what they'll get.
That's what they'll
Just
get.
kidding.
I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend that we level fund count number 158, tax title foreclosure, at the sum of $10,000.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Next budget item is Town Clerk, 161. We did receive back in January a letter from the Town Clerk. I think $1,000 is a conservative increase in the professional and technical line item. It will be used to professionalize our census mailing, new vendor, nicer, more user-friendly format, not to mention it helps cover the day-to-day for the clerk's office. Asking for an increase in office supplies so the clerk's office can purchase a fireproof file cabinet, which is important. We need to purchase a file cabinet each year. However, this year we need a fireproof one for all of the town's contracts. They cost $2,800. Other supplies, dog licenses. This was our actual cost for fiscal year 2022. No, there is no ask or request for dog licensing software. This is the actual price for dog tags and the license paper we write on. Elections for the fiscal year 2023, we have 3 elections. One is our annual town election and the 2 state elections, primary and state election. The fiscal year 2022 budget has 1 election. For this reason alone, you should see a 100% increase in payroll, details, and professional and technical costs. However, the state election is no longer than our town election, resulting in more than a 100% increase in costs. And please keep in mind, minimum wage has gone up since the last budget, so election workers' pay will go up for it. For the annual town election, it will go up a second time to $15 an hour. This is reflected in the budget. I will include my sheet where I came up with the figures. Registration, item, well, I guess I've gone through 3 budgets already.
Yeah.
So just going back to.
Overshot the runway
yeah.
there.
So going back to Town Clerk 161, this is not level funded, there's an increase. Does anybody have any questions?
Absolutely.
Selectman Hull.
I notice that the town clerk, his request for his salary was $75,000. I also understand that in previous, or last year, there was a significant reduction in his salary since he was new to the position. I think town clerk has proven that he's worthy of the request that he has made based on not only his performance to date, but in fairness to what I believe is comparable wages for town clerks of towns of this size in the area. So I would like to see that raised to $75,000 from the Mr. Mullins' recommendation of $71,000.
Is there any other discussion?
I don't think it's much of a discussion. What I will say is, I just want to echo the sentiments that my colleague Selectman Hull has made. In addition to all the contributions that our current town clerk has made since that we appointed him last year, I understand all of the improvements that he wants to make with things like just having more things be digital, so it's easier for folks if they want to access. And I think a lot of good things are going to come to that department, so I'm proud to support that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be the bad guy.
And I don't mean any disrespect.
No, yeah.
At all.
So I concur with both of you in the amount of work that our town clerk has done for us. However, we have a very tight budget. We're talking about an increase of over $9,000. The previous salary for town clerk, she had been here 15 years. And though I like the changes that you're making, I'm going along with the recommendation of the town administrator, $71,000 salary.
I respect that. I stand by what I said, but I respect it. Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
Well, Mr. Chairman, you mind if I say a few words?
Yes. Briefly, yes. Just come up here and identify yourself, please.
I'll be very brief. Robert Woods, 158 Chase Street. And I would like to say that Mr. Pacheco hit the ground running. But
You're not
today,
talking-
no, not you.
Not Mr. Pacheco.
Yeah,
Yes.
you hit the ground running years ago, sir, and you're doing a fine job. You are.
Thank you.
But today, I had the pleasure of attending a wedding today over at the gazebo that Mr. Pacheco performed for a lovely couple. And him and his assistant Pam Waller wrote some beautiful words for this couple. And I've been watching Mr. Pacheco since he started. And to tell you the truth, in my personal opinion, and quite frankly, he was lowballed when he started. And this guy has done an outstanding job. So, I agree with Mr. Hull. I agree with Mr. Segrafis. And let me tell you, this guy, he's going to be around for a long time.
We hope he is.
And we need people like him. That's all I have.
Selectman Hull
Well,
first.
no, I was going to make a motion, but
Oh,
Yeah, I just wanted to say again, and I'm not trying to talk you up at all, like I mean that. I really appreciate everything he's done, but my decision tonight is not just based on what you've done in the last year. I understand what your plan is to make the public services that come out of your office more efficient, and so I'm happy to support that.
Selectman Hull.
Mr. Chairman, at this time, I would like to make a motion that the budget for count number 161 for the town clerk reflect a $4,000 increase in the town clerk's salary, and that the total budget would be $152,003.60.
I have a different number.
The 152,954.
Yep.
20.
It's just a different total than what you said.
And also the salary, didn't he? He
One
said the wrong
second.
salary?
No, he said the wrong increase. I think it's more than
It's more than
4,000.
It's 9,000.
Well, I'm looking at 75 and 71.
But that's the difference between the recommendation from town administrator.
Not his salary this year to next year, which I still am supporting.
Right,
It's just
the increase is $9,280.60.
Correct.
Oh, there's,
Proposed increase, decrease from fiscal year
so I'm sorry,
2020.
there is a difference and it looks like just a typo difference.
Oh, okay.
So my recommendation for office supplies, and that is just, I think just a typo difference. So that would be the variance.
So what's the total?
So the complete total is a 152, oh my God.
95420.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it'd be 152, 9,
54.
5420.
$954.
I apologize.
No, it's okay. It was there the whole
So
time.
I'm gonna ask for the motion again. Sure. Please.
I would like to make a motion that the Board of Selectmen recommend account number 161, the town clerk, reflecting an increase of the town clerk's salary to $75,000, bringing the total request, the town clerk's line item, to $152,954.20.
Second.
Is there a second? If there's no further discussion, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is a no.
Don't you let us down. No, I'm just kidding.
And remember, Mr. Wood, stand up at the annual town meeting and support this.
Mark will appreciate that.
You can't vote, though.
Yeah,
That's right, he can speak.
that's true.
Okay, the next item is 162 elections, and I read a little bit about that, so let me just go back to 162. Bear with me. For the fiscal year 2023 budget, we have 3 elections. One is our annual town election and 2 state elections, primary and state. The fiscal year 2022 budget has 1 election. For this reason alone, you should see a 100% increase in payroll details and professional and technical costs. However, the state election is longer than our town elections, resulting in more than 100% increase in costs. Also, please keep in mind, minimum wage has gone up since the last budget, so election workers' pay will go up with it. For the annual town election, it will go up a second time to $15 an hour. This is also reflected in the budget. I will include my sheet where I came up with the figures. So this election is an increase of $21,400. Is that correct? Am I reading that correctly?
This year's budget, yes.
This year's.
Due to all the elections.
Yes, this is a total of 3 elections, so this is adding 2 more.
21,400 increase.
Yes.
Anybody have any? Yes, Dr. Z.
Just so residents who may not pay attention are aware, in your
Well, everybody pays attention.
well, yeah, you're right.
You realize how many people are watching this meeting as we speak?
Our relatives. In all seriousness, $33,900, which is the request this year, is similar to FY19. I assume probably similar number of elections. So just for the average cost, without maybe all these elections, is probably closer to last year's or this fiscal year's request, which was $12,500. Is that correct? It's usually not this much money, is what I'm saying, because there's usually not this many elections in a fiscal year.
This whole budget is basically just on how many elections, so it's completely dependent on that, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what he said in his letter.
I got to summarize.
Yes. Any other questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
No questions from me. Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend account number 162 in the amount of $33,900.
Second,
Is there a second?
second.
Call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico was an aye also. The next budget item is 163, registration. There's only an increase in postage, am I correct? Everything else is okay? Yep. Any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend that account number 163, registration, for the fee, the total of $5,700.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Next item, budget item is 171, Conservation Committee. Is there any questions regarding that budget? I know that we have Lisa on Zoom. I don't know if she wishes to speak on this. It's a less than level funding
Oh, I
from
think
the
she's
previous year.
unmuting.
$7,822 less than what it was the previous fiscal year.
I think she unmuted. I think she wants to.
Is she still there?
Uh-oh.
Oh, there she is.
Hi.
We thought we lost you. So we're reviewing the budget for Conservation Committee. Does the board have any questions? Yep. Does the board have any questions for Lisa?
Mrs. Caledonia, my only question is if you could summarize the reason for the $7,822 reduction in the total budget request?
Sure, I think that was due to us cutting out professional and technical, correct, Mike?
Yes, yeah, there was one major project that in FY '22, we increased the funding for professional and technical.
Like a one-time?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All
But that is no longer there.
right. Okay. And nothing like that's anticipated for this fiscal year?
Not that I know of, right, Lisa?
Right, I mean, you know, things come up, but hopefully we can stay out of needing attorneys.
Agreed. Thank you. I don't have any further questions, Mr. Chairman.
If not, I'll entertain.
Jim Digits is also on, but the chairman could not attend.
We accept that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
I'll
you.
entertain a motion.
Oops, sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend account number 171, Conservation Committee, total of $63,198 for their fiscal 2023 budget.
Friendly amendment, Conservation Commission, and I will happily second that.
Commission. So, sorry.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. The next budget item is Dayton Trails Committee. We do have a letter. This is dated January 18th. On 18th January 2022, the Dayton Trails Committee voted unanimously to pass the proposed fiscal year 2023 budget detailed below. Please see details on the enclosure. 1, infrastructure improvement materials.
Oh my God, sorry.
Broad Cove Nature Trails, $600. Trails maintenance improvements, $1,000. Budget request is $1,600, and this is less than what they had previously had in fiscal year. It's $400 less than what it was the previous year. So if there's no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
I actually do have one.
If there's any questions, please ask your questions now.
Okay, my question, forever hold your peace, right? My question is, and I don't know if there's anyone that can answer it, if someone from Trails Committee is on. It doesn't look like any of the allotted funds for this year have been spent. Are there any plans to do anything with the funds from this fiscal year?
Yes.
For anybody? I'm sorry.
Yes.
And I don't believe anybody's on.
So I met with Trails a few weeks ago, and I asked them the very same question. And so they do have they basically have made plans this spring, to expend all the FY22 funding. That was my first question.
But
to them.
not just because it's going to run out.
No,
Okay.
they have a real
There's
plan.
okay, all right.
And
Just
it's
making
based on the plan and the request that they submitted last year at this time for the fiscal year.
Thank you very much.
If there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend for account number 174, the amount of $1,600.
Second?
Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is also aye. The next agenda item, budget item is 179, Agricultural Committee. There's an increase over the previous budget of $1,000 in the 5,300 professional and technical.
Do you want me to explain what that's for?
Sure.
Okay.
Because I know you're a liaison
The
person.
non-voting liaison, correct. That is $500 is for the garden. They've been working closely with the custodians, Mrs. Patricio and Mrs. Montero. So anticipating just needing things for the garden as things, as you know, get up and running finally. So we thank them for that. And then the other $500 is for informational materials. Now that the Agricultural Commission has completed its work plan, which was like job number one, thanks to Serpid's Bill Napolitano, they have shifted to what they really want to focus on, which is an educational component. So having materials made, educating people on the importance of agriculture, fresh, healthy produce, telling people what the farms are in town, the local farms, maybe organizing a farmer's market. And so they're going to work with BP on having those materials printed at a reduced cost. But the volume and the fact that they're up and running and the fact that they're going to be hopefully working with the schools and getting in there, having a table at the Cow Chip Festival, probably having a presence at the Firecracker Festival this summer, that's what the increase in cost is.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to recommend that the Agricultural Commission budget for fiscal year 2023 be $1,695.
So just really quick, here is a difference in my recommendation and the committee's recommendation. I didn't have that full summary.
Oh, sorry.
So yeah, no. So I didn't have that summary upon which I could make a recommendation. So if you want to actually approve that based on the summary that was just provided, the total is $2,695.
I will amend that to reflect a recommendation of $2,695.
I will second that.
Second.
My apologies, Mr. Administrator.
Please.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico's an aye. The next budget item is 189, Development and Industrial Commission. What an increase this is. It's a 1,500% increase.
I think it's just the same $1,500 that has been there. I mean, I know it's not
No,
the
we
same
cut
amount.
the budget
never-
out last year.
What was it? It was only could have been 2,000.
2020, no money, 2021,
So yeah, we
2022.
took
This
out
is
the budget spreadsheet because there hadn't been the budget submitted in prior years,
Okay, you're
but
right, you're
thankfully
So it's a
we've.
1,500% increase. Do you want to address this, Selectman Hull?
Well, actually, out of respect for Mr. Higgins, who is the chairman of that committee, would you like to come to the podium and?
Sure, as you said, we did not have a working commission for the past year or 2 years.
Just identify yourself, please.
Sir, Dan Higgins, 400 Lincoln Avenue. We did not have a working commission for the last year or 2 years, so this is a brand new light item. And $1,500 really reflects the anticipated cost for postage and mailing. We are working closely with Serpid, and as part of informing what we're providing to Serpid, we do anticipate at least one townwide mailing and one particularly targeted mailing to business owners in the community. Having said that, we're working to try to make sure that we can perhaps do as much online as possible, and as Selectman Hull mentioned earlier in the evening, there is a planned business networking meeting coming up, date to be determined. So when we say townwide, it may actually turn out to be less than that, but knowing that the average cost for a townwide mailing is about $1,000, we did request $1,500. Mr. Mullen has, reduced that to $1,000, I believe, is his recommendation, which I understand.
So they can go back up. I'm just very.
Yeah.
You know how I will.
Sure, and I understand the reasons for that, so. But that is what the anticipated cost is.
Selectman Hull?
One of the things that I really envision on a couple different groups going forward, and I'll reserve my comments only about the Dayton Development and Industrial Commission, and other groups I'll save for another time. We're trying to build partnerships. We're trying to build partnership with business and with people within the community. And when Mr. Mullen mentioned, because of tight budget constraints, that he was recommending $1,000, I started to think about that. $500 is really not a lot of money to reach out for community leaders or businesses to help with fund that. But with that in mind, and I have another committee that I'll save for another meeting that I have in mind as well, developing this partnership. How would donations to the Dayton Industrial Development Commission be handled by the town other than forming a 501c3? Is that doable?
All donations have to be accepted by the Board of Selectmen,
And it wouldn't be a 501(c)(3).
and you couldn't, yeah.
That's, no. But,
So
I
so there
believe
could
we
be
could-
established a gift account.
yes,
Of
we can
course, but
establish
it
for
still
this.
has to be.
Yes,
you
accepted
still have to
by the
accept every
town
single
Board of
thing,
Selectmen.
This
correct.
commission could have,
But it is possible to do that.
Yes,
yes.
The account,
Do we-
correct, yeah.
Do we currently have any?
yes.
Okay, so,
Because we get the prime time
The prime time,
donations. Mhm.
there's one for the
Historic Commission has one, I believe.
yes.
And, there's a commission on
The
disability.
fire, I want to say the fire department does as well. Yeah, there are a number of them.
so they could
No.
donate, once that is formed, they could donate to it, and to access it, how would that be done? Does it have to come through the Board of Selectmen?
No, they can expend it through, they can expend through the gift account.
So the commission can vote on it and and
Yes.
spend it without having to come before the board?
We just accept the donation.
Yes, and
Accept
submit
the
it to the town
donations, but, yeah.
accountant.
I know that's a discussion for another meeting, and
I think
unless someone has
No,
any
no,
other
no, I'm
questions.
just- If you have questions for me, that's fine.
I actually do. Is that okay, Mr. Chairman?
Absolutely.
The $1,500, I know you're talking about doing the mailing, and it's about $1,000. I don't know if you're including the cost to have whatever it is you're printing.
We are, but we're anticipating that we won't really be targeting 100% because as I said, we're trying to plan to target people online, target people in
okay.
person through open events that, both for residents and at least one planned one for business. So it'll be something less than 100% mailing. So
Okay.
with printing, we're still estimating like
Would you
$1,000.
do you think you'd use Bristol, Plymouth possibly for just like the printing?
possibility.
If possible, I mean. Because we have
It's all
Selectmen
about
Board.
that, building a partnership. So if they can fit it in a budget, and in their schedule, sure, of course.
Mrs. Goulart, I thought I saw your hand raised, yep. Do you have a,
Thank you, Mr. Higgins.
thank you, Mr. Higgins.
Did you say phone 503? We're talking about
50 Nonprofit
Okay.
agency.
The town of Dayton is a nonprofit organization. So anyone that wants to donate money to the town of Dayton, you donate it with specific instructions. We want this to go to the community garden.
Yes, that's a
Once the
good,
board accepts it, the town accountant sets up the account, and more money can come in, but each time it comes in, it has to be accepted by the board, just like you do for prime time. And then when the committee that controls that account wants to pay bills or whatever, they process this through the town. The town controls it. You don't have to set up any separate charities or anything. Any contribution to the town of Dayton is considered a tax deduction, let me put it that way.
No, thank
Okay?
you.
So the one thing you avoid from an accounting standpoint is you don't want all these accounts with too many people accessing. Everything will go through the town accountant, but certainly that can be done.
No, thank you.
I've been donating to the town for 35 years. It's not voluntary, but I've been donating, so, taxes.
Yeah, well,
We haven't had a motion on this yet, have we?
No, we haven't.
Okay, I'll let you make the motion, Selectman Hull.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to recommend that the Dayton Development and Industrial Commission budget for fiscal year 2023 be $1,000.
1,000,
1,000.
not 1,500?
So you're going with the town
I'm
administrator's
asking
recommendation?
you-
I'm
because you're
going
on
with the
it.
town administrator's recommendation.
I will second that.
Any questions? about that? I'll ask Mr. Higgins, the other chairman, do you think you can do that mailing for $1,000. Okay, thank you. There's no further discussion. I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z? Aye. And Campuchico is an aye.
I just want to add
Yep.
that I am very confident, so people don't think that we're nickeling and diming the commission, that the other $500 will be in that new account that we will establish.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll hold you to that. No, I'm just kidding.
Next budget item is 541, Council on Aging.
Oh, sorry, I have to jump
Yes.
forward a
So
little.
this is not level funded. It's an increase of $20,828.48.
So that is skewed, hold on, I just want to pull it up, but that is skewed, Mr. Chairman, I can explain why.
Yep.
What, so what, sorry, I just jumped to prime time. So why the increase is, we wanted to, especially as we are beginning the interviewing, process, so the initial interviewing process for a new, Council on Aging Director, and, we really wanted to, in this budget process, show, through this one budget, a real, so like a real salary number, like for the executive director for the Council on Aging that wasn't, actually split up into two budgets. So like we did, and if you look at the primetime budget, you can see how that number, has been offset, from the primetime budget as well, when we get there. And so that offset is there. There's a contractual increase, like for the clerical union staff in that department. And one of the things also that's important to note, the professional and technical account in the Council on Aging budget, that has been reduced in the last 2 years because of the COVID pandemic. So this year, like even with the programming that COA has tried to bring back, they've kind of run into a wall with that so with the lower rate or the lower amount in the professional and technical fund. So we are proposing to bring that line item back up to where it was pre-COVID, so we can have the operational programming run by the COA that we have previously had budgeted for up until COVID.
So my question is, for the director,
Yes.
what is there an increase in that salary then?
No, that salary is largely, so I want to say it's really the same as it is now. So we just moved the entire salary into the Council on Aging budget.
Which I actually appreciate, because then it allows personal opinion. I don't have to flip back and be adding two different salary lines to understand how much it really is. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Yes, currently,
Yes.
Council on Aging, where do they meet?
The Council on Aging, like the Board of Directors you're speaking of?
Yes, and any activities the Council on Aging has. Do they have all of their activities at prime time?
It's the Lincoln Village Community
That's what I
Center.
thought.
Yeah.
With that in mind, we have electricity, we have heat, and I don't see any of that reflected in either of these budgets.
Yeah, we pay those through the commingled utilities account, that all come through the board of, that all come through the Selectmen's office. So we handle all the utilities and the electrical, so for the town through the board, so through the commingled accounts.
And that's under the public facilities, whatever that budget is, right?
Yeah, that's managed jointly between the building commission and the board of
Yep.
selectmen.
Is there a savings by having all the activities in one place or the other?
It allows for greater budget efficiencies. So, and this was done, I believe, 2 years ago. So we brought everything over into a commingled account. So, and we, like, and over the past 2 years, we've really quantified what we would really need to fund those. So, so I think the first year we funded it at right around $25,000, then we brought it up to around 30. Then we had to go to a reserve fund transfer process a year and a half ago. So like where we are this year and where we're trending with that $40,000 line item that I want to say is in the public buildings is actually trending right on target.
Selectman Hull.
I know this isn't going to be popular, but as we look at the budgets, council on aging, and prime time, we have to look at prime time from a business point of view. And I'm not saying eliminating. And one of the things that I was hoping to hear before we got into fiscal 2023 was a report by town administrator combined with the council on aging and the town accountant on the viability of that program. And I am not recommending that we do away with prime time, but I'm questioning, based on questions people have had, about that program being viable by itself.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if there are other ways to make that program more viable and also at a savings to the town.
Yes.
Or even a profit to the town.
So what is your suggestion then?
Is it possible to table this, or are we up against a time deadline?
No, we can table it. I just want to, if I could clarify one thing.
Because no one's from the Council on Agents here to speak.
Yeah, and I did invite them as well, just so we weren't having a conversation without them on this either, because it is important. So this fiscal year, for example, and I just want to bring up, 1 second, the FY22 budget. So like in this fiscal year, we've had some starts and stops in the primetime program. So, but we do have a primetime revolving fund. So which when we look back, the last year we could look back to that had a full year of operation was FY19. So like in the revolving fund in FY19, so in the revolving fund in 19, the revolving fund in 19 was actually sustainable. So, but even though the revolving fund, even though the revolving fund worked, and it actually worked to the good by around between $10,000 and $15,000. So what we were also doing at the same time was subsidizing through the town operation budget, so the primetime operations through the primetime operational budget to the tune of between the $70,000, like in budget 540. So in budget 542 plus the cost of employee health insurance. So like that all told, so is probably up in the area of around $80,000 to $85,000 a year. So that is what. So those have been the resources that we have dedicated out of the town operating budget to help operate the program. So So what I'm proposing as we go forward, what I'm proposing as we go forward and we look to a new director, so like we have the primetime building, so we have a primetime building that with a new director, so like I want to see if we have the possibility of combining all the, combining all the programming, so we can do more, so we can do more council on aging programming, from the primetime building, we'll also have a component of primetime programming. So as part of our broader COA program, we won't have one employee up here. So we won't have one employee up here, then another employee down at Lincoln Village. So we can have the possibility of having our programming more together. We can have everything more together. We can have everything more together. That will be more efficient. But at the same time expand the services we offer to all of our seniors.
And I think it'll make primetime more viable as well.
So yeah, but a lot also, as I mentioned, we're going through the hiring and interviewing process of a new director. So how we go forward depends on them. So how we go forward depends on them, the will of the town. And also in concert with the Council on Aging Board of Directors as well. And I want to be careful to not actually make any decisions for them, but I am actually making that recommendation to go forward with that vision as a plan, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I think Brett has a question.
Yep. Dr. Z?
You may have answered this, and I really apologize.
No, that's fine.
Is there going to be some kind of deep dive discussion with COA? I'm not suggesting we need to be part of that discussion yet, but is there going to be some kind of conversation with some figures to go over what the plan is, where we've been, where we're going to go?
Yes.
To address.
Yes, and I think that's important. I think that's important as we go forward and as the board goes forward to really have that information out there as well. I don't disagree with that as well.
My question, to piggyback off that, is more coming back to what you were saying. So if we hold this, when do we have that? When is that conversation being had so we can come back and work on this? Or are you suggesting let's have that conversation and deal with it in the next fiscal year?
No, I think we need.
I'm just trying to understand our process. That's
all. I think we should have the conversation with the COA board of directors in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Honestly,
is that going to impede or hold this up?
So I think the two are. I honestly think the two are intertwined with each other.
Because, as I've said, in my short time last year on the budget process, I get really nervous when we have budgets come before us and no one from that department is here to defend it or explain it. And the COA isn't here tonight.
Yep.
And I really
So out of defense, I do want to say the chairman of the COA, he's plowing right now.
I just saw him to plow.
So he's a
right now
little occupied with the weather event.
So why don't, I would suggest that we put this on for a March 23rd meeting and invite the Council on Aging. I don't want it the 16th, we got the.
Yeah, that's.
We got a little bit of work already for the 16th school committee, et cetera, et cetera. So I will entertain a motion to continue budget items 541 and 542 to our March 23rd meeting.
Second.
So moved.
Oh, sorry.
I can't make
I'm
motions.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, my apologies. I was just repeating what Ken said.
Any further discussion? No. If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
Campuchico's and I.
And I want to thank everybody. I know it's going to take some digging, but I want to thank you in advance and thank our town accountant for guiding us on this with the data.
Yeah, I just want to go on record that I support prime time, that I think we need to get more information once we hire the new director to see what direction that person's going to be going in. But I've never seen prime time as a for-profit. This is a service that we do for seniors in our town and other towns. So that's it. Next agenda item is the ADA coordinator. I don't believe he's on.
He was, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, there he is, okay. Jonathan, we're discussing budget item 549, ADA coordinator. Are you available? Mr. Gale, can you hear me?
I'm gonna ask him to unmute just to make sure he gets.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, yes.
Okay. You have questions for me?
Well, we're discussing your budget, and although I attended the meeting, I understand why there's a request for an increase of $500, but perhaps you can explain it to the other board members?
So the increase for $500 is specifically for the administrative side, which is the assistance that I need, the auxiliary assistance that I need for administrative support for all of the visual work that I'm not able to do specifically. So we've looked at this year so far, and for the first couple of quarters for this year, for the first 2 quarters of this year, we're just slightly over $700 for the amount of cost for administrative support for me, provided by Justina, my administrative support. So projecting for the year, we expect that figure will be closer to $1,500 rather than $1,000, which is the reason we're asking for the increase from $1,000 to $1,500. What we've also agreed to do for this upcoming fiscal budget is to reduce part of our budget, the other part of our budget. I don't have it in front of me. Michael, I know that you have it there, I believe, Mr. Administrator, by $250 for 2 different parts of our budget, so that in effect, the level funding, we're just reallocating the funds.
So I don't see that on the paperwork, so
So it's right, so in the COD departmental request, they initially proposed to.
I see your recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah. And Mr. Gale, you're okay with the town administrator's recommendations on this budget then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I am, and the COD did meet about this to discuss this at our last meeting last week, and the COD did agree that this was acceptable as well.
Selectman Hull?
I just want the public to be aware that, one, Mr. Gales is doing a great deal of work with the school department right now. And they've just touched the surface of the ADA needs of the high school. So for this to be a level funded budget is a very reasonable request. Secondly, and very important as we go forward through the process and to town meeting, under the American for Disability Act, Mr. Gales, an employee of this town, is entitled by law for reasonable accommodations for his disability. So his request for monies and other supports for his disability and the person that will be working with him is mandated by law. And certainly what he has done is admirable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
Actually, may I ask Mr. Gale one last question
Yes.
before we make a motion? Mr. Gale?
I'm here.
I know the COD has done a mailer in the past. Is there no plan for any correspondence or mail in the upcoming fiscal year?
I can't, right now, there is not. We've established, we did that mailer before. We're getting more presence on, through other mechanisms in the town and other things that we're doing. We've established a Facebook page, as I think you all know. We've done some media coverage through, different articles and so forth as well. So we're getting more visibility. We're getting more phone calls. We're getting more requests. Our purview is now not just, things related to the different grants that we've been able to help the town procure with the help of others and our town administrator in different departments for the past year. But it's expanded into specific requests by residents with regard to streets or intersections or sidewalks, or as Mr. Hull just alluded to, the schools and the work we're doing with the school department and so forth, and what to do with the new superintendent. So our work's significantly expanded, and the reason I'm saying this is that what we found is that mailer, which was just under $1,000, and I know you were discussing mailers earlier, for the entire town, for 100% of the community, including printing,
Grandkids.
is probably not going to be necessary for, at least for the next fiscal year. We don't see it unless there was a reason for an emergency for something, and then yes, we might have to ask for supplemental, but otherwise I do not see that at all. We specifically elected this year, understanding and hearing very strongly from the town administrator the concerns in which Stacy had with regard to the town's budget this year and the financial services of the town this year. We specifically decided it was important for us to overall find a way to level fund this budget and not ask you for any sort of increase.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gale. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion for the Board of Selectmen to recommend that the Commission on Disability budget for fiscal year 2023 be $5,000.
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. It passes. The next and last budget item for tonight is 698 Cable Committee, and they're requesting level funding.
Whew.
Anybody from the Cable Committee wish to speak on this?
Speak to this,
Mr.
Dave.
Marvel?
Yeah, we're gonna keep level funding for now. There's enough money in those accounts, but mind you that some of our equipment's coming up to the end of life. So we might be okay this year, but the following year, we're gonna have to start replacing things. So right now, we're good, we're understaffed, so we're keeping the budget pretty low.
Thank you.
May I ask him a
Yes.
question? Will those potential upgrades that are needed next year be paid with PEG access funds?
Everything's paid through PEG. We don't take any money from the town whatsoever.
Thank you.
And that's a gift account that's been set up for us to Comcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Part of the bill that we pay for Comcast goes to
Okay.
cable, so.
No question.
Thank you.
Based on that.
It's a lot of money. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we recommend for account 698 the amount of $32,100.
Is there a
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye also.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, Dave. There were no acknowledgements. There were no correspondence. I will entertain a motion to approve the Board of Selectmen's regular meeting minutes of February 23rd, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Approval of the warrants.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the following warrants, all dated March 2nd, 2022. 35A-22 in the amount of $107,042.77. 35B-22 in the amount of $227,991.77. I tried. 35C-22 in the amount of $6.50.
$6.50.
Yep. I said what I said.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye also. Passes.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the following warrants, all dated March 9th, 2022. 36A-22 in the amount of $101,298.31, and 36B-22 in the amount of $186,300.15.
Second?
Any discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z?
Aye.
And Campuchico is an aye. Public input? Anybody on Zoom, public input? Anybody in the audience, public input? If not, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session. We will not be returning. Everybody drive safe, be careful, the roads are slippery. Is that right, chief? The roads are slippery?
They're out there.
Yep.
Still?
And our next meeting is March 16th, and we'll do more budget reviews in school committee.
We didn't,
No,
We
we
haven't
haven't,
voted.
no, we haven't even made a motion yet.
are you entertaining them?
Say in.
Okay, Selectman Hull.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Hull's turn.
I would like to make a motion to enter into executive session under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel.
Can we keep it down a little bit? Hello? Just keep it down a little bit. We got a motion on the floor here. Continue, Selectman Hull.
In regards to the chief of police contract. Also, under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements. And also, executive session minute approval of the Board of Selectmen's executive session meeting minutes of February 23, 2022.
Second. I'll ask call for a vote. Selectman Hull?
Aye.
Dr. Z? Aye. And Campuchico is an aye. Everybody be safe. We'll see you on March 16th, 6 o'clock.
Thank you.
Brett, while you were out, the first one to go into executive